Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Lucky Wolf. I never really introduced myself, but I guess I am today. I am Lucky Wolf, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the International EUIC, the International Championship that just took place over the weekend. Last weekend it was in London. I'll be talking a bit about the winning team as well as kind of some meta shifts that we're seeing play out in top 8 and everything like that, kind of comparing it to what we saw do well, comparing it to the top 8 of both Sydney and Fort Wayne, which were two regionals that took place the day that Regulation C had officially dropped. So it's really cool to, I always enjoy. It's really fun to see the meta shift, I think, and play out, and people solve, people find a way to counter certain things and then counter those things and anti-meta teams and all that kind of stuff. I really love seeing all that play out. So I'll just give a little background. So this past weekend, the International it was in London, and there were 733 Masters, which is incorrect. As you can see right here, I'll just cut that out. As you can see right here, there were 773 Masters, so a very, very, very sizable tournament. Paul Chua did win with a Roaring Moon. I am so excited to see Roaring Moon do well. I love Roaring Moon. I used a bunch of Roaring Moon in both Series 1 and Series 2. I haven't really tried it at all in Regulation C, but I may have to give it a try now. I love Roaring Moon's design. I was a huge Mega Salamence fan years ago. I was a huge Mega Salamence fan, and Mega Salamence looks like a flying croissant. It took a little while for Mega Salamence to grow on me, but I ended up absolutely adoring it. And honestly, Roaring Moon is the design that I wanted. So I'm very excited to see Roaring Moon do well this past weekend. There were actually two Roaring Moons. Sorry, let me scroll down a little bit. There were two Roaring Moons in Top Cut. Very cool to see first place and 8th place. So Roaring Moon had a great showing. And the first thing that I do want to talk about, that was a weird transition. The first thing I do want to talk about in this top 8, specifically because it pertains to what I was saying in my last video when I was talking about Sydney. If you want to hear me talk a little bit, break down the meta, hear me talk a little bit more about the Sydney Regional Championships, please make sure to go check that out. But I was saying every single team, I believe, had a physical water type on it. And I was saying how interesting it was that we're in a meta where all the big water types are physical. And I had said I can't think of the special water types that we see a lot. I had named Tatsugiri and I had named Gastrodon, but I forgot Bundle, and I said to myself in that video, I'm gonna feel very silly. I know that there's a Pokemon I'm forgetting, and I literally forgot about Bundle. So at Sydney, I don't believe there was a single, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, I do not believe there was a single Iron Bundle in Top Cut. In Fort Wayne, I believe there were two. Joe UX9 got 2nd with Bundle, and then I think another bundle was maybe like 6th place, if I'm not mistaken. But here, we are seeing 4 bundles. So if we're talking about Sydney, we've quadrupled the number of bundles we're seeing, and if we're talking about Fort Wayne, we're doubling the number of bundles we're seeing. So just kind of to have a shift back to special type Pokemon, whereas it had been all physical water types. We don't see any Gyarados here, and Gyarados had been having a really good showing because Gyarados and Palafin had both done well. And another special Pokemon that I do want to mention that 3 of them here, Goldie. We got, can you see my mouse? There we go, nice. Okay, so we got Goldango. So I don't believe there was a single Goldie in Goldango. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't believe there was a single Goldie in Sydney Top Cut, and I think there was one in Fort Wayne. I think it was actually the same team that had the bundle in Fort Wayne. So to see Goldie kind of be popping back up now, whereas it had been really very popular in Series 1 and Series 2, so to see it kind of pop back up here in Regulation C, as well as another shout. Instead of seeing Flutter on literally almost every team, we see Flutter on less than 3 teams, 3 out of 8 teams, so less than half of teams. So already we're kind of seeing this big shift in the meta, which I find fascinating. I think that is very, very, very interesting, to be completely honest with you. And we got 2 Dozos, 3rd and 4th. Dozos 3rd and 4th. So I still think we're not seeing as much Dozo, and I think people are really kind of getting a handle on how to play against Dozo. Dondozo is one of those things where you really always have to respect it in team building. I think if you have to have a like if you're not thinking about Dozo, if you don't have a Dozo matchup, I think that's something that most teams really absolutely 100% should have, whether you're going to a tournament or they're playing on ladder. I think a team needs to have, you need to have a plan against Dondozo, and you need to have a Dondozo answer. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I have haze. It doesn't have to be haze. It can just be like, oh, I'm going to intimidate them. I'm going to Will-O-Wisp them, all this kind of stuff. It can be haze, it can be clear smog, but I think you have to have an idea, because I don't think Dondozo's gonna go anywhere anytime soon, to be completely honest. And something else that I do want to say, so Paul Chua and Gabriel Gotti's teams are, Pokemon-wise, the same, except for different dragon types. Also, dragon types kind of having their day right now. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's an Iron Hands. That's an Iron Hands. Don't say 5. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, skip, 5, 6. And then where's Tatsugiri? 7, 8. So, Dragon types, oh, and Garchomp. Oh my gosh, I'm so rude. Please nobody tell Garchomp that I skipped. Please nobody tell Garchomp. And I've already forgot how many I counted to, but that is, Dragon types are really having their day. So we're seeing less Flutter, lots of Dragon types, as well as some more Goldies. Coming out, and more bundles, a lot more bundles as well. So just kind of watching the meta change a little bit is always really fascinating, because it's been, what, 2 weeks, really. It's been 2 weeks. Okay, but I do have, where are you? Boop. Okay, I do have Paul Chua's team pulled up here. I do want to talk about Paul Chua's team a little bit. I want to talk about Roaring Moon. So this is not knowing the EV spread or anything. So this was in series 2, not 1. I didn't use Roaring Moon in series 1. In series 2, this was my favorite Roaring Moon set to run. I think the setup is phenomenal, especially if you're running, so you're running Ting-Lu, which can decrease opponents' special type attacks. You are running Amoonguss for Rage Powder, Pollen Puff, Spore support. You're running Arcanine for more support. You have Intimidate, you have Goggles, Will-O-Wisp, all that kind of stuff. So you do have some nice support options, which really let Roaring Moon have some staying power, and you can Dragon Dance up until you're just faster than the opponent. Catch them with a Throat Chop, catch them with a really big acrobatics. That really nice to have acrobatics into anything that is Grass Terra. So if they Grass Terra to try to avoid being spored by Amoonguss, let's say, or to avoid taking super effective damage from stomping, or to avoid taking, or whether it's super effective or not, but to try to take resisted damage from the Palafin, you can really, if your opponent does have a Grass type, this team is really great for baiting them to go Grass type, and then you can hit them with a really big acrobatics here. You can also hit them with a Flare Blitz, as long as they're not Flash Fire, or Well-Baked, I almost just said Well-Baked Bread, Well-Baked Body, or, yeah, those are probably the two main ones. So the Flying Terra on the Roaring Moon is great, and you can really bait your opponent into going Grass type, and then kind of hit him with your Roaring Moon as well. And we did see with the Roaring Moon, I can't actually remember if it was day 2, but how Paul Chua kind of played against Dondozo, and I love this. I think this is such a good strategy to play against Dozo. So you can weaken the opponent's Dozo with Will-O-Wisp, with Intimidates. You can even, if you want to sleep them or anything like that, and you get yourself into a position where you get your Roaring Moon on the field, right? You get your Roaring Moon on the field, and then you just Dragon Dance up in their face while they can't do any damage to you, because they're stuck in there. Dondozo and Tatsugiri, once the commander has been activated, they cannot swap out. So they are really they're really at your mercy while you can Pollen Puff yourself, and then you just Dragon Dance up. You can swap out so if you're worried about, like, let's say you're worried about Scarf Tatsu out of Commander, right? So you do have the option, you can get yourself into a position where you're danced up with your Roaring Moon, then you can get your Flutter Mane, so you can swap out your Amoonguss, you can get your Flutter Mane in, and that way then you either with your Roaring Moon or with your Flutter Mane, you finish off the Dondozo, and then that turn where the Dondozo goes down, Tatsugiri pops out of Dondozo's mouth, is completely open to being, cannot protect, cannot go for an attack, is completely open to being attacked, and then you can also take out the Tatsu, unless it's Sash, really in one hit. So then, now, all of a sudden, it's, you took down their Dozo and their Tatsu, and you have a boosted Roaring Moon on the field. You might outspeed them, they might not be able to take you down with what they have left, all that kind of good stuff. So I just think that is a really, if you have a setup mon, I think if you can position yourself correctly against Dondozo, that should really be a matchup that you 100% have down. You know, and I think it's really cool to see that as a way to battle against Dondozos. Another thing, so I actually meant to look at this beforehand. The Sand Tomb. So we are seeing, so the Ting-Lu that won, so this is Paul Chua's Ting-Lu. I guess I didn't even realize that it was Sand Tomb. So Ting-Lu, this also traps the opponent. So this traps and damages the target for 4 to 5 turns. So, Paul Chua did opt for no Fissure. Sand Tomb maybe is a little bit more of a, reliable. Sand Tomb is probably a little bit more of a reliable move to go for. You can once again, you can trap your opponent, and if you can trap them at the right time and get your damage off, and let's say you've intimidated them, let's say you've burned them, let's say they're asleep, you can set up with your Roaring Moon, and you're just like this. You're just kind of like priming your Roaring Moon to then sweep. You're giving it so many opportunities to dance, and then you can throat chop, you can acrobatics. And I also, I do love throat chop. If you can get yourself, into a position, you can go for a throat chop. That means no perish. That means no perish song. They cannot sing to you if you have chopped them directly in the throat. So that means, no perish, that means no hyper voice or any, like, if you do happen to go up against Sylveon's, or Giraffe, Fraffrig, there we go, I couldn't think of the name. If you do happen to go up against that, then, they aren't able to go for hyper voice, all that kind of stuff. So I do think the Roaring Moon was a really smart decision, and I'm so happy that we got to see Roaring Moon, take the victory here. We also saw, like I said, Roaring Moon come in 8th, which is really cool to see. So that's 2 Roaring Moons in Top Cut as well. And the other thing that I really wanted to point out was, so it's Choice Specs Flutter Mane with T-Bolt. And I like the T-Bolt on here a lot. This is such a good way. So we are also seeing a little bit more Corviknight. So a team that I'll probably do a video with the team. I've been playing a little bit on ladder on stream, is the team that got 2nd in the Global Challenge, had Corviknight on it by Nasri VGC. Really cool team. I have enjoyed myself playing it so much. It's actually Corviknight and Garchomp. Corviknight Garchomp core, super fun core, and I'll definitely be doing some battle videos with it, just simply because I love it. But we're definitely seeing more Corviknights pop up, and so I think T-Bolt is such a good way to hit into the Corviknight, just immediate for big special damage. Like, even if they want to go for bulk ups or iron defenses, you can still just smack them with the T-Bolt. That's gonna do so much damage. Would definitely be a 2-hit, very possibly a 1. It could very possibly Oko them, or you might need like a little bit more chip damage, but you could even, like go for 1 turn, go for Ruination, and then hit him with a T-Bolt. So, something like that. Just kind of beat them down with the Ruination, then be able to T-Bolt them. So I think Thunderbolt is a great choice here, for potential Corviknights, and for, like I said, all the water types running around. If you can get yourself to a point where you can T-Bolt maybe a bundle. If it's not Sash, you can T-Bolt and KO a bundle. Bundle special defense is not as good as its physical defense, so I think that's another great choice. I think another thing is, if you know that your opponent's now that we're seeing more Goldangos, here's what I'm trying to say. Now that we're seeing more Goldies, if you see that your opponent is Terra Water, or if they opt to Terra Water, like maybe you can bait them. They opt Terraing Water in front of your Roaring Moon, so they don't take super effective Throat Chop, or they Terra Water in front of your Arcanine, so they don't take a super effective Flare Blitz, all that kind of stuff, or a Stomping Tantrum. You have lots of baits here. So let's say they go Terra Water. Also, if they Terra Water, then they do resist Palafin. I'm gonna get the sentence out. So they do Terra Water, and you're able to get your Flutter Mane in after they Terra, or if you're able to call that they're gonna Terra. T-Bolt. What Goldie? What Goldie? So I do think T-Bolt is a really good choice on Specs Flutter. I really like the T-Bolt on Specs Flutter. And we have the Terry. Whenever I try to say Farah, whenever I try to say Terra Fairy, oh my gosh, 3rd time's the charm, y'all. Send help. Whenever I try to say Terra Fairy, I say Farah Terry. There's just something about those words. I can say Terra Grass. I can say Terra Water. I just said Terra Water in that last sentence 17,000 times. But Terra Fairy, did I do it? No, that sounded correct. But Terra Fairy is so hard for some reason. I'm sorry. I apologize. Whew, that's embarrassing. That is so embarrassing. I might actually have to cut that one out. I usually am like, oh, I'm gonna cut it out. That one, I need a sip of water. I might actually need to cut that out. I'm also gonna cut this out. So just gonna cut and be like, the end. I'm just gonna do my outro. You know how we do. All right, there we go. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all. Excuse me. I think that's pretty much all that I wanted to talk about in. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. Talk about some of the meta shifts that we saw in top 8. We got to talk about Roaring Moon. We got to talk about Paul's team. Massive congrats to Paul. It was so incredibly well played. What a hype finals. What an incredibly hype finals. If you haven't watched it, highly recommend. So I was actually thinking about maybe doing match reviews. Sorry, this is another tangent. It's a whole different thing. I was thinking about maybe doing match reviews. I thought might be kind of fun. So maybe I might have to do a match review for the finals just because it was so freaking hype. It went to 3 games, like Gabriel Gotti won game 1, and then Paul won games 2 and 3 with such a hype turn 1. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. Just really, 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 really incredible. Both players should be really happy with how they played. But okay, sorry. That's gonna be it from me today. I'll be back probably later in the week using the team that I just talked about, using the Corviknight and Garchomp team. I used it on stream today and it was super fun. I do stream VGC 5 days a week. We also do raids together and all that kind of good stuff. I sometimes do shiny hunting. We do raids on Friday. So if you'd like to come, if you like to do raids with everybody, please feel free to do that. I have that linked in the description down below. And yeah, that's gonna be it. If you did enjoy it, please feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If not, none of that. I hope everybody has an amazing day already, and that's okay. Goodbye!